Alright, so we gotta talk about it. Helena Taylor is a liar, right? That's the whole message that's being conveyed right now, and it's probably true. But it's more than that. I think that we could learn a huge lesson from this whole thing with Bayonetta 3 and gaming specifically, and content creators specifically, as some people really jump the gun on this. And I've even said, like, this was my most like to dislike ratio video that I've had. Like, there were just tons and tons of dislikes, and I thought it was interesting because I didn't say one way or the other how I felt about it. I took the role on both sides of the coin, and this is the situation, and put in my thoughts of, I don't really care. And, now I think, there's definitely like this backfire where now I actually do want to just pick up the game just to, give more support to Platinum because of the situation. And I feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel like me saying I don't care is a stance that I have to live and die by. But there were certain people who did make these kind of comments, and I think it's important we don't get mad at them, but we call them out enough. Don't go telling somebody to go, off themselves or something like that, because that's just dumb. I love video games, but that's just dumb to get that impassioned about video games and someone else's opinion and thought on them. Why does that affect you? We see that a lot, but this actually is a bigger problem. There's a statement that's often said, they don't make good shows anymore. They don't make good movies anymore. They don't make good blah, blah, blah anymore. Do you know why this is the way it is? Because basically all the studios, like movies, TV, they're all ran by 6 companies. That's it. They consolidate. They're there for the investors, so they're not going to take risks on new stuff. A lot of people blame woke culture and Generation Z, but it actually has nothing to do with that, and it has everything to do with corporatism. And the reason I bring this up is because it pays. People watch it, and that's why it is what it is. If people didn't watch reruns of The Big Bang Theory and Friends, then they would be forced to actually take risks and buy new shows and actually give opportunities to a lot of people. But that's not how they work, because they realize they can get more views or the same amount of views and also save money by hacking off all of the, let's just say, more riskier ventures, or even just even if they're popular, like we're seeing with HBO Max right now. They're hacking up a bunch of their stuff, even though they said that they weren't going to do that. But who's the important person? The customers or the investors? And for them, it's always the investors. Now, why do I bring this up? Because this is completely 180, right? Not so much. Actually, because gaming is becoming that sort of industry as well. And we're seeing the expansion of indies, which is great, but if no one pays attention to them, and if they don't make money, and we are seeing companies like Xbox and Sony and basically all of them trying to monopolize themselves and to control that power, what purpose would they have to support these indie companies when they can just, at some point, consolidate everything down to basically reruns, basically stuff that we've seen before, we've done before. They make tons of them, but people play them. Call of Duty is a great example. Madden. These games always sell really, really well, but they're not great, and we know that. We, as gamers, completely know that, but we don't have a way to really interact with that aspect of gaming, and this is where my whole point of the Bayonetta story and everything comes around, because one of the main ways that we actually have to be able to convey the importance of indie games, or of just different titles that are less appreciated, Psychonauts and stuff like that, is through social media, and namely through YouTube. But these YouTubers make so much more profit, so much more attention is put on these drama videos, and we see them all the time. And the thing is I don't blame them from doing it. I mean, you can check my own videos and see, the saddest thing about this Helena Taylor Bayonetta 3 situation is, for me, was that I actually reported on some really good games. I talked about reports of 2 different games that I really enjoyed, and I thought they were awesome. And they got maybe a 1/10 of the attention that the Bayonetta 3 video did. And this is what bothers me, because people are going to see foot traffic. People respond to that. If you're RGT85 or Dreamcast guy or OJ or whatever, why make videos on lesser known things when you could make a killing just talking about the drama and reacting to it? And I'm, in a way, putting a foothold on how this is a problem. Because not only are these guys not equipped to do that because they're not journalists, think of them as mainstream media. That's basically their role, is they collect stuff from Twitter and other actual journalists, and then they just report it to you. And then they end up putting their own emotions into it, which they shouldn't. But the more important thing is, again, I don't blame them. That's where they make money. And you can't tell somebody, hey, be virtuous, lose money, lose views, lose attention, lose sponsors, all of that in the name of basically keeping the video game industry as, I don't know, as diverse as possible. I hate to use that word, but we want that. We want indie games. We want different titles. We don't just want Call of Duty and Madden all the time. But can we really expect these guys to just turn down money and attention and all of that just for the betterment of video games? Like, I'm sorry, but in the real world, you can't pay your rent with honor, you know? So I get why they're doing it. In fact, I would argue that the real issue is that we keep watching this garbage. We don't even watch stuff about different indie titles or different games, even AAA titles that, like, just maybe, I don't know, it was a month ago that it was popular. We stopped watching a lot of the content involving those games, and we're the ones really to blame for the fact that media ends up turning into garbage because we get locked into this situation of rerun, if you will. I mean, none of us really care, I don't think, about the drama in the video game world, but yet it's what we end up watching, and it's what gets the clicks, it's what gets the views. And when you do have a lot of smaller YouTube creators talking about indie games, and the bigger ones, the more approachable ones, they don't talk about games hardly at all, let alone indie games. What is happening to that market? Well, that's basically proof as they consolidate not to put so much money into the indie games because it doesn't get attention. And what is that telling these companies when indie games or even a lot of AAA titles don't get views, clout, attention, and more importantly, sales? It tells these big corporations who are consolidating, let's be honest, for the purpose of profit, tells them to stop putting money into them. And there again, if there's no money to be made there, or if they can trim the fat to continue to make tons and tons of profit, then why shouldn't they? Again, I know that this is a different take on the whole thing, and yes, I don't support Helena Taylor. I think she's kind of a scumbag, but like me and my buddy Trotty were talking about, this is conspiracy theory, but what if this was a whole thing to just raise the attention of Bayonetta 3? Like, we've seen it already. The pre-orders are skyrocketing, the sales are going through the roof. People are going to now buy this game like crazy because of this whole stunt. I don't know, like, why else would she do that? It's not her main form of like payment. She's not a voice actor through and through. She just does it for I should say video game voice actor. She only does it for like Bayonetta. So I don't know, like, what if this was like Nintendo playing 4D chess and saying, hey, let's get something really massive out of this by this controversy that blows up? Now, I don't know. Again, that's completely, I'm talking tinfoil hat stuff, because who would know that this would have blown up like it did? Like, in hindsight, sure, but honestly, like, if you told me, hey, the guy who voiced Link is coming up and he's mad, I'd be like, so? Shut up. No one talks. No, but no, I wouldn't expect it to be a big problem. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't expect Twitter or a ton of gamers to actually give a crap because, well, that's, the way it is. But anyway, no, I wanted to take that opportunity and hopefully get the same amount of views or close to on the last video as I did on this one, just to explain the dangers of watching this stuff and falling into these traps, because sooner or later, as we support these consolidations, and we do in a lot of ways, we're going to support the dumbing down of content, and that really scares me, because I've seen it with like media and movies and stuff. You have to look really hard to find really edgy or funny stuff or stuff that you just don't see all the time. It's much more difficult, and it's much more difficult for those shows to continue running. Some of them grab hold and they do well. Like Sex Education is one of the greatest shows. And luckily it's popular enough, but honestly I think it's popular because it's in the UK. I don't know, but I don't want to see that happen with games. And I can already see that same pattern happening as big companies are forming, these giant conglomerates. I can't speak. And us as consumers are pretty much putting our consumer dollar, even though we don't realize it, into drama videos and into this kind of stuff, and not paying attention to actual gaming and the amazing games that are being made and all the amazing work that's like actually coming out right now, which is insane. We're in a gold age, but we could easily go to a gilded age where things aren't as good. Anyway, I know I'm speaking to the choir mostly on this because, well, my viewers are cool and you guys get it. And, so many of the other channels too have amazingly awesome viewers who also get it. But it's these bigger channels I really do worry about. And it's not even like I want the views or whatever. It's just I wish that we would be watching more game reviews. Like Switch Up is a perfect example of a channel that is great to support because they're talking about gaming. They don't get into a lot of this stuff, and they actually bring a lot of attention to games that most people have never heard of, and they're usually surprised when, if you tell the average person, like, hey, you can get a really great game for like $10, people are like, nah, that's not true. And you really can. You can just have to look at, like, JP does tons of these videos where he highlights these amazing games that are like even under $5. But the average person doesn't see that because if they are into gaming at all, it's all about the drums. It's all about, RGT or whatever. And even Spawnwave, who I think is awesome, he doesn't do like any actual like gaming videos. He does a lot of like news, and he does a great job with that. So, I'm not, in his place is solidified as that, and he does, perfect with that. That's fine. But it's these other channels that are really popular that they try to be Spawnwave, but then they try to be drama, and they usually fall on drama, and it doesn't convey the message of gaming anymore, and it doesn't lead to anything good if we continue going down that same path. And that's all I'm saying. That's where my concern is. Hopefully more people will support channels like Switch Up and obviously Good Talk and JP, like One Crummy Gamer and Asden and Grinning Wolf, like all these other great channels. But I'm just saying this is my concern going forward, and so I don't know. Hopefully the consumer market learned something, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Anyway, that's my TED Talk. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good one. Thanks for listening. If you listen to this whole thing, I truly appreciate you because it's a lot. And I feel like I went down some avenues that maybe weren't as direct as I probably could have been, but it's the way it is. I'm also not a professional TED Talker, so, Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Like always, I'm wishing you health, wealth, and above all, I hope you're truly happy. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.